One American pilot climbed into a jet fighter, ran straight into 6 enemy planes with no backup, and somehow flew home alive. Then he didn't tell a single soul what really happened up there, not even his own wife, for almost 50 years. This is the story of a Navy pilot who quietly became one of the best dogfighters in American history, and how his own government buried the truth to stop a war from getting bigger. The reason they hid it is stranger than the fight itself, and by the end, it gets a little hard to shake. It was November 18th, 1952, deep in the Korean War, and 4 Navy jets launched off the carrier USS Oriskany into a snowstorm. Their names don't matter yet, but one of them was a young lieutenant named Royce Williams, only 27 years old, flying an F9F Panther, one of the Navy's first jet fighters. The mission was simple: patrol the coast near the Yalu River, right where North Korea bumps up against Soviet territory. Nothing was supposed to happen that day. Then 2 of the 4 jets developed engine trouble and had to turn back, leaving Williams and his wingman alone in the sky, high above a gray, freezing ocean. That's when someone spotted contrails way up high. 7 Soviet MiG-15 fighters, the fastest, deadliest jets in the world at that time, were heading straight for the American fleet. Williams flipped on his gun sight and fired a quick test burst, just to make sure his weapons worked. Good thing he did, because seconds later 4 of those MiGs peeled off and came straight at him and his wingman. He opened fire and hit one so hard it dropped out of formation smoking. His wingman chased it down, which sounds like a win, except it left Williams completely alone against 6 enemy jets. 6 against 1, in an aircraft that was slower, weaker, and outturned by every single MiG in the sky. Command radioed him to disengage. His answer was blunt. He said he was already engaged because there was no way out now. What happened in the next half hour would turn one lieutenant into a legend nobody was allowed to talk about. For the next 35 minutes, Williams did the only thing that gave him a chance. He turned, over and over, hard and fast, because turning was the one thing his Panther could do better than a MiG-15. The MiG screamed past him, unable to match his tight circles, then swung back around for another pass. Every time an enemy jet lined up behind him, he'd snap the stick and rudder and spin out of the line of fire, cannon shells ripping past his canopy close enough to hear, then fire back the instant he had a shot. Tracer rounds crossed in front of his windshield while smoke trails and banking silver jets filled the sky around him. One MiG flew right into his gunfire and came apart in the air. Another took a burst and dropped out smoking. By the time it was over, Williams had shot down 4 Soviet jets by himself, something no other American pilot has ever matched in a single dogfight. But surviving the shooting was only half the problem, because his own plane was falling apart around him. A Soviet cannon round tore into his wing and wrecked his hydraulics. His rudder was gone. His flaps were gone. All he had left were the elevators, barely enough to keep the nose up and down. He dropped toward the clouds with a MiG still on his tail, dove through freezing air at over 170 knots, because anything slower meant the plane would stall and drop straight into the ocean. Cold air poured through the cracked canopy, and the cockpit had gone quiet except for wind screaming through the holes torn in the fuselage. When he finally leveled out near the fleet, the destroyers guarding the carriers spotted him and opened fire, because nobody had told them an American jet was coming in low and fast and full of bullet holes. His own side was shooting at him now too. Somebody radioed the ships to stand down just in time. Then came the hard part, landing a crippled jet that couldn't fly slower than 170 knots on a carrier deck built for planes landing at 105. The captain of the Oriskany turned the entire ship to line up with him. Williams slammed onto the deck and caught the 3rd wire. When the crew counted the damage, his plane had 263 holes in it. It was so shredded they pushed it into the ocean that same day. Williams had just done something almost nobody survives, let alone pulls off. So why did the story vanish the moment his boots hit the deck? Word of the fight raced all the way up the chain of command, past admirals, past the Secretary of Defense, straight to President Eisenhower himself. And instead of a celebration, Williams got a warning. Officials were terrified that if the world found out an American pilot had just killed 4 Soviet airmen in broad daylight, It could push the Cold War into an actual war, maybe even a third world war. On top of that, the Navy had secret listening equipment running that day, tracking Soviet radio signals, and they didn't want the Russians to know how much America had heard. So the whole event got locked away. His gun camera footage was edited down. Official reports were quietly rewritten, giving credit to pilots who barely came close to the fight. Paperwork that should have made him famous got stamped and filed instead. Williams was told in plain terms to never speak of it again. Not to reporters, not to old friends, not even to his own wife. And he didn't. He kept flying, rose through the ranks, commanded fighter squadrons, served through Vietnam, and retired in 1984 without ever mentioning the wildest 35 minutes of his life. For over 3 decades, he carried a secret bigger than most people's entire careers and just went to work like anyone else. He spent his retirement growing bonsai trees in Southern California, just an old Navy captain nobody thought twice about. Meanwhile, the truth sat buried in a classified file for decades, waiting for the one thing that could actually confirm it. That confirmation came from the last place anyone expected, the country he'd fought that day. After the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 1990s, Russian military archives started opening up, and inside them were the names of 4 pilots killed in a fight over the Sea of Japan in November 1952. It matched perfectly. It wasn't until 2002 that American officials finally let Williams talk, and the first person he told was his wife of decades, who had no idea what he'd survived all that time. Slowly, recognition started catching up to the truth. His Silver Star, which never even mentioned Soviet aircraft, got upgraded to a Navy Cross in 2023. Then in February 2026, at 100 years old, Royce Williams stood as the president awarded him the Medal of Honor, live during the State of the Union, nearly 74 years after the fight that made it happen. 4 Soviet pilots died that day too, their names now sitting in the same official record as his. Somewhere in that trade, a war that almost started never did. And a man who should have been a legend spent half a century known for nothing more than his roses and his bonsai trees. If a story like this gets the blood pumping, there are plenty more buried missions and forgotten heroes waiting to get dug up on this channel. Hit like if this one surprised you, subscribe if unbelievable but true military history is your thing, and send it to that one friend who's always going on about Cold War secrets. New stories like this drop all the time, and this is one corner of the internet where the real history hits harder than the movies ever could.